What is up, Christian hip-hop fans? This is Spiritual Lemonade. I am doing my kind of end-of-year videos, and this one, as you know by the title of the video, is going to be my personal Artist of the Year. I've done so much research for this, going over everything as I did for Album of the Year and my few other smaller videos that I did. In my opinion, there's only one other person that could have taken this spot, which I will say at the end of the video, but we're here for the Artist of the Year, none other than No Big Deal himself. Going over the topics that I wrote down, I believe that it's a pretty valid take here, as there's an extensive list that I have written down on all different, sides and facets of artistry. So we are going to be going over his music releases of this year. We're going to be going over shows and tours. We're going to be going over some other short little things that I want to add, and what we're going to be expecting from Artist of the Year, No Big Deal, going into 2025. No Big Deal has solidified his spot as Artist of the Year in many ways, as we've seen him branch out and become quite possibly one of the biggest Christian rappers out there. I'm telling you, he might even be bigger than Lecrae at this point. Like, he has just gone absolutely crazy. We're gonna switch over to Spotify. Okay, so we're gonna be going over all of the music that No Big Deal has dropped this year. During the first half of 2024, No Big Deal dropped singles such as Check, You Know What I Mean, featuring Big Breeze, Way Too Numb. This is a song by Nate Rose featuring No Big Deal. And then he dropped some songs, Coach, God Made a Way remix, All the Time with Frank. Most of these songs and a handful that dropped in 2023 were expected to be on his upcoming album that he had been teasing and talking about for quite some time, as it's been 5 years since his last studio album. But this was not the case, as he soon dropped those singles as an album titled These Are Not on the Album, which has since been removed from streaming platforms, but the singles themselves are still on all streaming platforms. Soon after he started the real rollout for his first album in 5 years, The People We Became, he dropped Loved, Empty Without You, and Renaissance as the singles for the project. In August, right before Smokefest, Indie Tribe dropped a surprise EP called Indie 500, where No Big Deal can be heard spitting a verse on every single track. You can hear him on Red Flags, Blame Ace Freestyle, Mandatory, Still Holy, They Can Rap. Well, that's actually not No Big Deal. Pulp Fiction and Like Me. He has crazy bars and all that. I mean, everybody killed it on this project, but we're talking specifically about No Big Deal right here. After that project dropped with Indie Tribe, he later made an appearance on the Radar Radio and spit a freestyle that grabbed everyone's attention. People loved the freestyle so much that he released an extended version on streaming platforms, which features fellow Christian rapper Paris Kariz. A few months passed and a reimagined version of The People We Became dropped. Rapper and producer 350 took charge of this project, which gave it a whole new life and narrative, as it was completely restructured. The album had a whole different story to tell. Then in October, No Big Deal released a song with Limo Blaze as part of the Young and Chosen Power Pack, which was an extension of Limo Blaze's album that dropped Young and Chosen earlier this year. November came around and it was the 5-year anniversary of the Lowercase Tape, one of No Big Deal's most popular projects that he's dropped. As a celebration, No Big Deal dropped a surprise EP called Even Lower, playing off of the Lowercase Tape title. These were highly anticipated songs that have been in the vault for so long that many of us, including myself, thought that they would never drop. These songs were Texaco, Rodeo, and Voss, the remix. So to finish the end of this year, he dropped his 4th project, his 4th album. Crazy. He was gone for 5 years and dropped 4 albums. It's crazy to think about, but he finished the Unplugged Volume 1. If you guys don't know, No Big Deal did a show at the beginning of this year that I was able to go to called Unplugged at the Hutton Hotel in Nashville, where it was a live show with a full band. We'll talk about this more later, but he eventually, at the end of, I think it was October, possibly November, he dropped it as an album, and It's incredible. Definitely go listen to it. There's a vinyl as well for it. That's the only one that he's dropped this year that I haven't bought the vinyl for yet. I'm hoping to on Black Friday. Well, this video will be out after that, so hopefully I'll have it by then. But yeah, now we're going to be going into the shows and tours part of this video to solidify No Big Deal as the artist of the year. With all his new music dropping, No Big Deal decided that to help share and promote his art with the world, he would do an incredible amount of shows throughout the year. He started in March with his first Unplugged show that I was talking about just a few seconds ago. This was a live recorded experience with a full band, no backing vocals or tracks, that would eventually be released as an album later in this year, which now is out on all platforms. I will say I've been to a lot of Christian rap concerts. This was not a concert. This was an experience. It was definitely, the vibes were just so different than like a rap concerts. I've never listened to rap with a live band. The energy there was just incredible. In April, No Big Deal was a special guest along with Limo Blaze and What Up RG for KB's Glory Nights The Image of God tour. In May, he did a show in Murfreesboro, Tennessee that I was also able to attend called City Fest, where he shared the stage with the rest of his rap group Indie Tribe. In July, No Big Deal was yet another special guest along with Josiah Queen and Antoine Bradford, supporting Forrest Frank's Child of God tour. This leads right into one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Christian rap festivals co-founded by No Big Deal himself, called Smoke Fest, that I also was able to attend for the second year in a row. I highly recommend buying tickets for next year. If you haven't already, they should be out by the time this video's dropped. They have dropped the last 2 years on Thanksgiving, so hopefully they drop again on Thanksgiving. It's the cheapest when you buy them at the earliest time. Smoke Fest. This was a 2-day event with over 20 artists taking the stage, Christian clothing, a VIP after party, and just so much more. I can't stress this enough, especially for those like creators. Even if you're just fans of hip-hop, Christian hip-hop specifically, I would definitely recommend going. It's just such a great way to just get to know people in the community. It's just crazy seeing people that I know from Instagram only and then being able to meet them in person. I was able to interview a couple people on the after party, Cypher, Young Drew, and Gavin the Hot Rod. It just was a great weekend of cultivating community in the Christian rap space. And then after Smoke Fest was the start of No Big Deal's headlining tour, the People We Became tour. So the first show was at Smoke Fest, and then a couple months later was the start of the rest of the dates for the tour. John Keith and Ecleso accompanied him, and they had 20 sold out shows, which is incredible for a headlining tour. I'm not sure if this is his first headlining tour, but even if it's not, he still went absolutely crazy. And I know I'm almost 100% sure he's done a lot more shows outside, like smaller shows that are probably very specific to different places that he was going throughout the United States, and he may have even been in London this year if I remember correctly. So the ones that I just listed were the most notable. Let me know in the comments if you've been to other ones outside of what I just stated for shows/tours. The next reason that No Big Deal is my artist of the year is creative control. Everybody and their mama be putting out podcasts, but No Big Deal started his own this year, literally in 2024, and a lot of times I've seen artists do this before and then they just kind of stop doing them after like a few episodes. It doesn't go the way they thought, but No Big Deal has been very consistent. He's been dropping, it always drops on a Tuesday, but I don't know how often, like maybe once a month. No, it's got to be more than once a month because there's 19 episodes out to date, his most recent with 350, but it's an incredible podcast that was launched earlier this year where No Big Deal takes a dive into music, God, and the intersection of creativity and faith. He's had special guests on such as John Keith, Derek Minor, 350, and other creatives that aren't artists like graphic designers, producers, and all that kind of stuff. He's even had a pastor on as well, just to have really good conversation. The episodes are almost exactly an hour every single time, so I always know going into it how, if I'm at work, I know for sure I can finish it while I'm at work. I always look forward to a new Creative Control podcast. But yeah, that's just a small other, just the icing on the cake. And if I'm being honest, this was the only thing that I was able to add on to No Big Deal to make him the artist of the year. The other one that I'll talk about for a short second at the end of this video, this is the only thing he didn't have that would have also solidified him as artist of the year as well. Those were the three main things, three aspects. As an artist, you can make music, you can make so much music. You could have been an artist that dropped 4 albums this year as well, but you also have to be able to, do shows and tours, do merch. No Big Deal's one of the only artists out here outside of Reach Records that's dropping vinyls with every album that he drops. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to move merch, just be a brand. He's really branded himself this year. And yeah, and then with the podcast as well, he's finding other lanes that he can, sew into that isn't just his music, but will bring more attention to it. He's just a really solid, artist, entrepreneur. There's a lot to expect from him in 2025. While all this was accomplished that I talked about in the video in 2024, there's no looks of it slowing down for him, as we're expecting at least 2 to 3 new albums in 2025, being the collaboration mixtape with Kato on the track that he talked about during the live Q&A at Smokefest. He talked about that, and then he leaked one song, I think, at the after party. And at the after party, he also talked about a song with Project Pat, which is crazy to think about, that there's a song with No Big Deal and Project Pat out there. But then he said he's going to be doing an annual show every year of Unplugged. So Unplugged Volume 2 is the second project that we're expecting, and then possibly a new Indie Tribe album. I haven't heard too much confirmation on that, but I feel like there are slight rumors going around that there might be, as Indie 500, the EP that dropped this year, was just a quick, they kind of rushed it. They said it was just like real quick. They wanted to get something out since Tory Deshawn just joined Indie Tribe and they didn't have music with him to do on stage. So I would expect another album from them next year. And then also at the very beginning of this year, he is going on Hulvey's All For You tour as a special guest. Later in the summer, we can expect Smokefest again, which I will be there. You guys know I will be there every single year. There is no doubt that No Big Deal is the artist of the year, and if he keeps it up, I could definitely see him becoming artist of the year next year as well. I'm just a huge No Big Deal fan, and this year was just a generational run for him. The only other person that kind of came in second for artist of the year for me was Miles Minnick. Like, just as a whole, I think No Big Deal's done more shows, put more music out in general, and he just fed the streets a lot more. No Big Deal, artist of the year 2024. Definitely go check him out.
My city love me like Chief Keef, wait. My city love me like Kiki, dodging coyotes like meep, none of these rappers could see me, 2024, I'm running, yeah. Might be my baby, my VP,